So, buyer beware, is that a thing? Good afternoon. So, I came across an article in Forbes, and it was basically 15 ways. Let me see if I could get the title up even. 15 things prospective real estate buyers need to be wary of right now. And I thought, well, why right now? Shouldn't home buyers be wary of things at all times? I don't know. So I took a look at it. I have some ideas, I have some thoughts, and kind of wanted to share them with you and see if we're on the same page. So here we go. So 15 things prospective real estate buyers need to be wary of right now. And they've got their real estate counsel. I never get a call from the Forbes Real Estate Council, but that's the way it is. So the first one is beware of settling for a property. And I would agree with that one. It's tough though in this market. I see more instances where buyers are just beat up and want to quit the process altogether, instead of just trying to find the perfect home. It doesn't mean you should settle. It just seems like that's what's happening. So you lose out on, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 offers. The houses that you're even getting beat out on are houses that you really have that much interest in the first place. You tend to settle. So I do agree with that. The second one is don't get caught up in the frenzied market. And it says the last time we saw something similar to this was Q1 and Q2 of 2018. So, I don't know. Especially now. If you don't realize that you're in a frenzied market, you probably aren't going to come close to actually buying a house. So you must have some sense of urgency, a reason to leave your current living situation to move into a new house. And that's likely to cause the frenzy, especially when you see houses coming off the market quickly. So I'll have people call me and say, hey, I'd like to buy a house. We get to the financing component, we get that taken care of. We start looking at houses, and they start seeing houses disappear from their searches within a day. And they're like, what's going on? And truth is, the house is gone. That kind of lends itself to a frenzy. I mean, if you need to buy a house and all of a sudden you see them just disappearing, it kind of makes you not want to lose out. The third thing is don't overpay for your property. So that's going to be easier said than done in this market. My thought would be just to set your limit. If the house goes above that limit, you did your best. Base your limit on the most current and relevant comparable sales. Winning a bidding war over 50 other offers is a pretty good clue that you overpaid. So that's that one. It says cap your search a percentage under your budget. So this is the advice, and I've seen it before. So it says, because so many homes are receiving multiple offers in this market, I am recommending that my buyers cap their search to 10 to 20% below the top of their budget. That way they have room to negotiate and beat out the competition. What that really means is that way we can pay more for a house and we have a better chance of getting it. We can win the bidding war. Not a whole lot of room for negotiation in this market. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I say, what can you afford? Let's see if there's a house out there. What's strange is there's always going to be this one house that doesn't sell. It doesn't sell for the price. It could be because the agent listed it, poorly. The listing agent did a bad job. It could be there's something about the house that somebody else doesn't like. So, sometimes there are those houses. Plus, what I've seen is if you're going to cut 10 to 20% off of what your budget is, the house in that price range is not the house that you're all that jazzed about buying in the first place. So that's a tough one. The next bit of advice is remain grounded in what you're able to afford. In order to avoid buyer's remorse, be sure you're clear on what you can afford, what your risk tolerance is, and what negotiating strategies you're comfortable with. Communicate this with your agent. Well, yes. And you and your agent should be discussing pricing strategies at all times. Different houses are going to require different things. Look, if you can't afford a house, say there's just nothing out there for you, wait. Work to build more down payment. Do something. There's, it kind of ties in with the settling, but not exactly. You don't want to overpay. It's hard to do in this market. You don't want to spend more than you have to, but if you just need to buy a home, you're gonna have to pay at this time. So number 6, consider ramifications of waiving contingencies. Contingencies exist for your protection so that you can investigate the property and feel good about your decision to buy it. Please remember to think long and hard before surrendering your rights too soon. I tend to agree with that. If someone asks me, hey, should I waive the contingencies to get the house? No. Which contingencies should you waive? I would try to get as many as I could. I would try to get as many contingencies as I could in there. Now, I don't like to see buyers waive contingencies as a buyer's agent, but when I'm listing a home, I can even be uncomfortable by some of the efforts of the buyers to purchase a house. Sometimes I don't feel comfortable with their offer because they're waiving so much. I know that sounds weird, especially in this market, but people get cold feet and people get uncomfortable, and the last thing you want is for them to waste your time and your seller's time by putting in an offer, getting the offer, and then trying to back out as any way possible. So number 7 was an interesting one, and I've never seen anything like this. And so it might be because I'm from the Midwest, but it says, understand how a property would fare in climate change. It says, buyers today need to take into consideration how a property would fare in the face of climate change. With rising sea levels, drought, wildfires, and more, it's more important than ever to be aware of how susceptible a property is to natural disasters. Not only are these matters of personal safety, it also affects a property's resale value in the future. So this is a new one for me. In St. Louis, we have to deal with flooding. We have flood zones, but so does everybody else in the country. But that's pretty much all we look for when buying a home. We have tornadoes. We're supposed to have earthquakes, but it doesn't happen very often. But I don't know that you could blame earthquakes on climate change. So on the coasts, I could see that. In the West, I could see wildfires and things like that. But I would be worried about those no matter what. So we're just not on the same page on the understanding how a property would fare in climate change. So number 8, be cognizant of costs after purchase. Repairs and renovations always take longer and cost more than you think, and property taxes and materials are subject to inflationary pressures too. I think this is definitely true. The chances you will move into your new home and not have any additional expenses are very, very low. Sometimes I think that it's better to make changes before the house is even occupied if you know you don't like something. Other times I think it's a good time to wait. So there's going to be extra costs after purchase. And then the next one, budget for more than just the house. Interest rates are low, and it's very enticing to buy a home before prices go up, which they likely will. Income security, budgeting for lifestyle and retirement, and having a large safety net are important considerations when buying a home. I just think that's similar to number 8. Or, number 5. If you want to have a different type of lifestyle, then you're not going to be able to remain grounded with what you can afford on a house. Number 10, don't waive inspections. Buyers are waiving inspections in order to get deals. Inspections are a key part of discovery and can identify many costly issues down the road. That to me is the same as number 6. Consider ramifications of waiving contingencies. The next one I like. Be aware of risks. Buying in a seller's market means that buyers have a lot of competition. This can open up increased risks since they may not have time to do their due diligence to the same extent they would in a slower buyer's market. My advice is to be aware of the risk when you're moving too fast as a buyer. Well, life is full of risks. Okay? I hate to say that, but just get out there. Hope you have a good buyer's agent and, deal with it. If you can't accept the risks of buying a house, don't buy a house. Number 12, wait if you can. This fellow says, as a commercial real estate broker, I advise clients every day on buying versus leasing. with historically low interest rates. Financing is favorable, but we're experiencing the beginning of a downturn, so values are on the decline. If the need is urgent, take advantage of the low interest rates, but if you can wait, I advise sitting on the sidelines and waiting on this market to play out. And as a residential real estate agent, I would say, no. What are you waiting for? Prices to go down? I've had buyers that have been waiting for the last 3 years. So far, all they've lost is the chance for massive equity during that time. Of course, it depends, but if you must buy a home because of your circumstances, do it. This idea that you should wait and wait and wait, prices keep going up. Now you say, well, prices go down, then it'll be, well, we don't know about interest rates. We don't know about any of this stuff. We only know what we have right now, and that's buy. I mean, if you have to. Number 13, identify and consider all factors. Well, when is that not true? When is that not true? What it says is kind of interesting. It is common as buyers are getting outbid to go to undesirable areas. But the real estate market kind of works that way at times. In St. Louis, there was a time when people wanted to be in Ladue, and then the houses in Ladue needed a bunch of work. You could get more value in some place like Chesterfield, so you would move to Chesterfield or you'd move your search there. People do definitely have some idea of value. So, I don't understand why you wouldn't consider all factors at all times anyway. That's just me. Number 14, don't obsess over the top line number. Be wary of being told that you are overpaying for a property. But if we saw number 3, it says don't overpay for your property. So it's almost like two different pieces of information in the same article. Be wary of being told you're overpaying for a property. If you have a long-term view toward wealth development and the region you live in has a history of appreciation, the sooner you can get in the market, the sooner you begin building equity. I tend to agree with that. I think about it a little bit differently. 10 years from now, it's probably not going to matter. However, you still want to get some value in today's market. You don't just want to blindly buy. So, like I said, if you're if there were 40 people bidding on a property and you're number 40, you're the one that won, then you're probably not getting value right now. Okay? Does that mean in 10 years it'll look like a value? I don't know. We just don't know what the future will hold. I tend to counsel my buyers to get away from this concept of worrying about price as much as trying to find some sort of value, some sort of reason to be in this home. Is this a home you could stay in forever if you had to? That's the way I look at it. Number 15, don't be flat-footed chasing a deal. It says reverberations from COVID-19 are playing out, and the surge in liquidity has many market participants looking to park capital regardless of the particulars of the deal. The groups you are competing against may not be using the same metrics, such as market value. Banks rely on market value, and if markets crash, that's the benchmark you're held to. I think of that in a different way, too. For the non-corporate single-family home buyer, they do have to be able to get an appraisal as a condition of the loan, so they're tied to something. I do think that you should pay attention to what institutional investors are doing, especially in this home residential marketplace. And then I have one. I have one, number 16. Something to be wary of when buying a house is short property histories. What do I mean by that? Have you ever seen a house that sold like it seems like it sells every other year? Why do you think that's about? There's probably something about the neighborhood that doesn't end up working out for the buyers. Why should you be the next one in? You're probably not going to hear that from many other real estate agents, but I like to look at a property history. What about this property? Why are people moving out every 2 years? Like, what's it about? And do you want to be the next person in? I don't know, that's what I have. Maybe you have some other things. Put it in the comment section below. If you're watching it as a podcast, or if you're listening to it, you're not going to be able to do that. I'm sorry. But yeah. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one.